subscribe, and like the video.
Meanwhile, new video, which first aired on CNN, offers a clearer view of the mid-air crash, as President Trump again said the Army chopper was flying too high.
The Black Hawk was too high. It was above the 200 limit by double. It shouldn't have been there.
Investigative sources tell NBC News the helicopter may have been flying at 350 to 400 feet when it crashed into the plane. And the tower typically has one controller focusing on planes and a second on helicopters. But Wednesday night, only one person was overseeing both at the time of the collision, after a supervisor allowed one controller to leave early, although that is allowed by FAA guidelines. On any given day, some 100 helicopters fly near Reagan National Airport, many of them military flights. The AP uncovering scores of reports of near misses and warnings in D.C. airspace over the last 2 decades. The day before the crash, another regional jet aborted its landing after receiving a cockpit warning of helicopter traffic.
4514, what was the reason for the go-around?
We had an RA with the helicopter traffic below us, Brickyard 4514.
Meanwhile, the FAA announcing on Friday it's restricting helicopter traffic around the airport to all but emergency responders, clearing the air while investigators work below.
Our job is to just come out with the probable cause, but then more importantly, make recommendations so that this type of tragedy never occurs again.
Now, the NTSB also confirmed that controller interviews are underway as they really ramp up their fact-finding work here. We also know that yesterday the NTSB gave a second briefing to more than 100 victim family members who are now in the area. Laura?
Hearts go out to them, of course. Aaron, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Finally getting woke out of media. Oh yeah, I saw this. But the chance of it crashing in the road and not a building or something are almost 0% if it's such a densely populated neighborhood, right? It's not. And I mean, it's definitely not 0%. But that also leads me to at least speculate that he might have directed it deliberately into like a street or something, like as in to avoid further casualties. Does that make sense? Like there is a possibility. It's not, I don't think it's like super, I don't know enough. I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough to tell you with 100% certainty whether or not he deliberately maneuvered the plane in Philadelphia directly onto the road in an effort to avoid the houses. But did you watch the Hasan Piker head plants or TikTok? No. Can someone send it to me? So many people have sent me this. Lolo sent it to me this morning too. I've only seen the thumbnail. Can someone link it in the chat? Is this it?
Making a Hasan Piker head planter. First, I made the 3D model from photos of him I found online. I have such a crush on Hasan Piker. Then I 3D printed him and hand painted him. Sometimes I wish Hasan Piker was my dad.
Oh my God.
I went socialist just so he would notice me.
This is...
Can't forget the glasses.
This is amazing.
If you like my work, check out my Etsy shop in my bio.
Oh my God. That is amazing. Better eyebrows too. Okay, chill. Yeah, it's got my old eyebrows. I don't even know. I don't got this kind of glazed work in me. Trump just recently signed an executive order to start a trade war with Canada, Mexico, and China. Can you touch on any of the reasons he gave this executive order? Yes, he wants the American economy to collapse. Okay, all jokes aside, we'll get to that in a second. Don't worry. And by a second, I mean right now. Trump has announced new tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico.
In Virginia, pretty much split Republican-Democrat. A purple town, they call it, in a red state.
You want to know why he's doing this? Because he's secretly in the pocket of Xi. That's why. He wants Xi.
Chris voted Donald Trump, and contrary to most economists, he thinks that tariffs will mean more money in his pocket.
And if we're making more money on tariffs, that means our taxes, American citizens can pay less taxes.
Will it affect your business?
No, it'll help. It'll help a lot.
How will it help?
I think cost of goods will go down.
Being a Republican is just living in opposite reality. Okay, that's it. That's it. There's like no other way to analyze, interpret what's going on. Okay. Nah, you don't understand. This thing that is literally a regressive, universal sales tax because the middle, like the import exporters that are the mediators are going to be paying for the cost of the good at the point of arrival are going to carry over that cost to the consumers, that is actually going to cut prices somehow. 83% of Trump supporters support the tariffs. What? 83%? Oh, dude, America needs to be studied like a lab rat, okay? America and the American mind, especially the conservative mind, okay, needs to be dissected and examined thoroughly. The amount of worms we would uncover in the brains of the average conservative. Like, this is the exact opposite. What are you saying? What you are describing is the exact opposite of reality. Why? Why are you saying the exact opposite of reality? What is going on? I don't understand it. Who is telling them that this is the good thing? Okay? Who is telling them, like I can't believe I'm the guy, okay, sitting here and saying that isolationist trade policies, if not directed towards a competent, competitive domestic manufacturing, is going to simply lead to prices increasing. It's going to lead to prices increasing regardless, but it's also going to lead to prices increasing a lot if there's no domestic manufacturing capabilities for the same exact things, right? Raw materials, for example, do not often have a competitive domestic manufacturing or even sometimes the raw materials necessary. Like if you're looking for, I don't know, trees, for example, wood, okay? We get it from Canada, okay? We get it from Canada. Now, do we have an abundance of wood in this country? Yes, we have a shit ton of forests. We have not destroyed some of our forests because we're just getting it from Canada, okay? Now, we could destroy our forests and not get it from Canada, okay? We could do that. We could like gut our national parks or whatever, right? There's plenty of trees there. But even that would take time. So in this process, in the interim period, as we move to destroy our own natural resources, okay, one, Canada will obviously strike back and add tariffs to our goods that they are purchasing, okay? And also, simultaneously, in the interim period, as like the American wood industry is building up for this to compete with the raw output of the Canadian lumber industry, there would still be a ginormous increase of cost of wood. I don't know if you know this, chat, but wood is very important for building houses, especially after a massive wildfire that destroyed tens of thousands of standing structures, residential homes and businesses alike, which means there will be additional demand for wood. So slapping 25% tariffs on all Canadian goods right after a wildfire happens is just choice. It's an interesting choice. What is this world of statistics? In the United States, 54% of adults have a literacy below a 6th grade level, 20% are below 5th grade level, and 21% are illiterate. What? That is not good, dude. Holy shit. We're going to reach a new record, baby. This is where they get their news. Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I saw this. Newsmax host taunts people complaining about migrant deportations of Latinos by eating a taco on air.
Will you come take it out of my ham? I'm going to eat half this plate during the break. Maybe I'll call the ICE hotline. I don't know if I'll have enough time. Sure. All kidding aside, it was actually really good taco. These people broke the law. They broke the law to get here.
I can't say what I think should happen to this person because I would get banned and it would make some of my most vocal haters very elated, very excited. Okay? But you can't stop me from thinking it. At least until the Neuralink chips kick in, you know what I mean? And then you're immediately prosecuted for thought crime. You know? I can't say it out loud, but I can think it. And you can't stop me from thinking it. Wow. Just ruthlessness, pure cruelty, no politics, just politics of spite, anger, resentment, hatred, Awesome. Great stuff. Trump supporting companies will likely be granted exemptions from these new tariffs like in his previous term. That's what I said as well. Okay. That's what I suspected as well when he talked about tariffs, because he had done this in the past. That he's going to use tariffs and who gets hit with the tariffs, not like everyone that is purchasing goods from Canada and China, but instead the companies that are aligned with Trump will get exemptions. I don't know if it'll happen this time around. The second reason for the tariffs, I think, is because he wants to destroy income tax. I think he wants to just abolish income tax and make it so, because income tax is one of the few progressive taxation methods we have at our disposal. And even then, there are so many mechanisms for the wealthy to avoid paying a fairer share of their taxes. That's why the effective tax rate for the average American is around like 40%, whereas for the super wealthy, the 1%, it's 0.01%, right? That is a massive, massive disparity. That is, in spite of the progressive taxation structure we have for income tax. Now, Donald Trump is openly, I think, trying to change the structure away from income tax in its entirety and only make Americans pay with tariffs. I think that's what's going on. I think the goal here is to reshape our taxation structure to move away from the last progressive taxation structure and eradicate it in its entirety and move directly to tariffs, which would work as a regressive tax, like sales tax. Sales tax is a regressive tax, okay? The way tariffs work in this process would operate like a federal sales tax, okay? To promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the income tax and other taxes, abolishing the Internal Revenue Service. Okay, come on. And enacting a national sales tax to be administered primarily by states. Yeah, come on, dude. Come on, chatter. I mean, this is people try to push insane bills all the time. This is one of them. You can call it a patriot tax. Or call it whatever they want to call it. But I'll just say it like this. Considering that this is the initial reaction to the tariff, I suspect that a lot of people won't recognize when they're paying significantly higher prices. I don't think they'll recognize where it's coming from or why they're paying higher prices. They'll probably still find a way to blame black people or something. They'll say, oh, it's DEI. Where's the guy? I just caught someone saying something insane. Oh, Patriot HVAC Services. Sometimes you got to a few omelets to make a tariff. I'm fine paying a little more as long as the bad people being deported. This is a meme account. This person is not being serious, okay? Make no mistake. Do not be duped. His name is literally Patriot HVAC Services. Okay? All right, I got it.
Yeah, I think eggs will be cheaper. Right now they're too much. They're like $1 million.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you.
I think a lot of people are still in the dark about what exactly tariffs mean and what it's going to mean for the bottom line. They assume that it's going to affect the countries that are importing to us without realizing that, companies have to pass that along. There's just no other way to do it.
Yeah, and it's the importing company that has to do something with the price, pass on the price.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely going to trickle down and not in a good way.
Further down the road in Culpeper, a Trump supporter with views that bit more militant about the US's largest trading partners.
We're shelling out for them to do nothing. Now it's going to be like either equal or let's catch up for all the the cheating that's been done on us.
If inflation dominated people's economic concerns around the US election, it focused on two issues: the price of eggs and the price of fuel. For all its massive oil reserves, the United States still imports a lot of crude oil, and most of that comes from Canada. That's why President Trump says he'll only impose a 10% tariff on Canadian crude oil, not 25%. But even so, it will likely translate into higher prices at the pump. Sonia Chavez from El Salvador says that most of what she needs in her bakery comes from California. But she thinks that tariffs will mean price hikes across the board, and so she'll have to follow suit.
Está bien
I think it's going to be difficult, she says, because at the end of the day, it's the consumer who will pay. If America's trading partners are confused about what tariffs the US president means to impose and when, then the American people are too. Unsure either what tariffs mean or how they'll affect them. Diana Magnay, Sky News in Culpeper, Virginia.
Well, in the last few moments, we have been getting more detail about those tariffs. A White House official has said President Trump has signed 3 separate executive orders enacting tariffs on Canada, Mexico and China, one for each country. 25% tariff on Mexican imports, a 25% tariff on Canadian imports, excluding energy products. We know that the US gets a huge amount of oil from Canada. A tariff on energy products is 10%. There'll be a 10% tariff on Chinese imports. Now, interestingly, there's going to be a retaliation clause, as it's called. To quote, there is a retaliation clause so that if any country chooses to retaliate in any way, the signal will be to take further action with respect to likely increased tariffs. So we are getting more detail all the time about what President Trump has in mind when it comes to tariffs on those 3 countries. Keeping across that, of course, throughout the evening here on Sky News.
Well, the White House says 25% tariffs are going into effect today on goods coming into the U.S. from 2 of the country's biggest trading partners, also the closest, Mexico and Canada. So what impact will President Trump's move have on American consumers, your wallet, where? ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang joins us from Washington with those details. Good morning to you, Selena.
Hey, good morning, Janae. Yeah, this could have a huge impact on American consumers. But remember that President Trump had campaigned on lowering costs for Americans, but these tariffs could have the opposite effect. It could increase prices on everything from avocados to tequila, cars, electronics, clothes, and more. This morning, President Trump is gearing up to impose steep tariffs today on America's biggest trading partners, a move that could raise prices at the grocery store and the gas pump.
There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that.
Trump campaigned on lowering prices for Americans, but admits now that his tariffs could cause disruptions. The president hitting Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs and 10% tariffs on China, blaming those countries for illegal migrants and drugs coming into the U.S. and for America's trade deficit with these trading partners.
They've treated us very unfairly.
Experts say American families could pay $830 more on average this year because of those tariffs, with higher prices for fresh produce, alcohol, clothes, electronics, cars, and more. And those tariffs on oil and gas could hike prices at the pump by as much as 70 cents per gallon. I pressed the White House on those higher prices.
Can you guarantee that those tariffs won't increase prices for Americans, including at the gas pump and the grocery store?
I think Americans who are concerned about increased prices should look at what President Trump did in his first term.
Studies have repeatedly shown that Trump's first-term tariffs hit American companies and consumers the hardest, and Trump's move threatening to spark a trade war. Canada's prime minister says they're ready to hit back.
If tariffs are implemented against Canada, we will respond. We won't relent until tariffs are removed, and of course, everything is on the table.
So tariffs are taxes on goods that U.S. companies and importers pay, and then they largely pass on those higher costs to U.S. consumers. And Janae, some companies are also warning that this could put millions of jobs at risk here in America.
The impacts remain to be seen. Those impacts remain to be seen, Selena. And we're also learning new information about President Trump's plans to fire FBI agents. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Janae, so sources are telling us that the Trump administration is compiling a list of FBI agents to fire or force out. We're told that the administration is specifically looking into people who worked on investigations.
JD Pondon. He said the FBI will pay for its crimes against revolutionary black leaders in this country. Oh, the Chamber of Commerce is not happy? Well, I'm shocked. Statement from the U.S. Chamber. Tariffs are not the answer. Washington, D.C., U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Senior Vice President and Head of International John Murphy released the following statement regarding President Trump's announcement that the administration will implement 25% tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and 10% tariffs on China. The president is right to focus on major problems like our broken border and the scourge of fentanyl, but the imposition of tariffs under the IEEPA is unprecedented and won't solve these problems. It will only raise prices for American families and upend supply chains. The chamber will consult with our members, including Main Street businesses across the country impacted by this move, to determine the next steps to prevent economic harm to Americans. We will continue to work with Congress and the administration on solutions to address the fentanyl and border crisis. Yeah, not happy is right. Wasn't Carl Icahn, who was totally on board with Donald Trump, like the thing that separated him from Trump was when he put tariffs on steel. He was like, you can't do that. You know, all of these like squishy libs, or people who present themselves as liberals when they're like, you know, obviously right-wing billionaires in general, have no issues with like all of the death and devastation that Trump will cause upon marginalized populations. But the moment that their bottom line is impacted, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's not like that. It's not like that. What's happening? I don't understand why he does this. Can you explain it to me? I'm dumb, lol. I think that there are two reasons why Donald Trump wants to do this. One, because Donald Trump wants to utilize the tariffs as a mechanism of pressure for sectors and industry leaders to basically kiss the ring. You kiss the ring, you don't get hit with tariffs. Because remember, for those of you who still don't understand this, because I've talked about it a million times over, tariffs don't actually work in the way that Trump claims it does, right? Tariffs don't actually work in the way that, maybe to your surprise, the Republican Party has claimed it works. You're not actually putting a tariff on the country, right? You're not putting a tariff on like China, and China is paying for the price of said tariff. The tariff is an entry fee, okay? A tariff is an entry fee. So it's not actually the Chinese companies that are paying for the tariff. It's actually the American companies that are tasked with importing the goods that are paying the tariff at the point of entry. That's it. So it's actually American manufacturers that will now get a more costly good overall. Because if, let's say, you're getting your t-shirts shipped from China, right? Your garments, you're a garment producer, or the raw materials necessary to produce garments in the United States of America. Let's say you're getting that from China, right? Now there's a 10% tariff on all Chinese goods, okay? Which means you have to pay a 10% entry fee on everything that you purchase, which means automatically the garment manufacturing goods are now 10% more expensive. So when your garment, when you're selling your wares to a factory that is tasked with making t-shirts, at the point of purchase, that second company is basically buying a 10% more expensive product. If a bulk purchase of t-shirts was $100, now it's going to be $110, right? And when that happens, and that t-shirt manufacturer takes $110 worth of t-shirts now that previously was $100, they are going to increase the price of all of the t-shirts that they're making so that they can carry the cost over to the consumer, right? So now the product, like the cost of the good necessary to make this product has increased. The cost of the product is increased overall. And every step of the way, from the point of the merchandise, the point of the goods entering the United States, all the way to the point of the consumer purchasing it at a store, the cost of that t-shirt increases every step along the way. Okay? And you, as a consumer, end up paying the price. The money made by the tariffs, the additional money, goes to the federal government. Now they have extra money that they can work with. Okay? And you, the consumer, are technically subsidizing that money. This is the reason why tariffs can be seen as a federal sales tax. Okay? Now, what's, I guess, somewhat interesting about this process is that there's also almost always retaliatory tariffs from the other country, which, and for the record, when tariffs do happen, okay, if there is no competitive domestic manufacturing, of course, trade of that sort of commodity, or all commodities, if all commodities are tariffed, will actually decrease because people will seek out cheaper alternatives. So they will move in the direction of like Vietnam, for example, or another manufacturing hub that isn't China, that will still make the same or similar product without the additional cost associated with it. Now, of course, changing your manufacturing to a different country is an arduous and relatively costly process. So that in and of itself will also yield more expensive goods at the point of purchase. So there's also that issue in the interim. And the retaliatory tariffs, on the other hand, will also yield the same exact result. China will engage in retaliatory tariffs like they did with soybean, right? That's what they did when Donald Trump, in his first administration, engaged in tariffs on steel from China. And China said, okay, we're putting a tariff on soybean. This ends up harming the American manufacturers because now the Chinese government is looking for alternatives to purchase soybeans from. So they're not going to get it from America. They're going to get it from elsewhere. And at the end of that process, it ends up harming the American manufacturer. Okay. Nah, companies are getting faster and cheaper at changing countries. The shell game continues, but yeah, it's just a band-aid. Yeah, but still. And I say this, I criticize all of this for the record, while also maintaining the position that tariffs on particular goods is not necessarily a bad thing. While on the one hand, I want a BYD car, I wish that American manufacturing was interested in making competitive electric vehicles. So while we do actually maintain some understandable trade isolationist policies when it comes to car manufacturing, for example, in an effort to preserve and protect our manufacturing sector and automobile manufacturing, the American manufacturers are also not using this as an opportunity to create better products overall, but instead products that hyper-focus on avoiding CAFE standards and building larger and larger tank-like structures in a country where the Ford F-150 is the most popular vehicle. I considered that to be an annoying nuisance while still maintaining the position that I understand why there is a necessity for some tariffs on some goods. Why? Because the automobile industry in the United States of America is a competent and competitive manufacturing force that already exists. Now it's in a state of disrepair. It's been crippled. It's, profit seeking has truly eviscerated this sector as well, just like every other sector. But it still exists. And there are thousands of American laborers, union laborers, good union jobs that are readily available at the assembly line. Ironically enough, tariffs even impact those guys, at least these tariffs that we're talking about. You might say, Hasan, why? They're making the cars in America. That's a F-150, baby. Arctic Monkeys intensifies, right? Here, I'll play it real quick. Actually, I kind of want to hear it. Why is my freaking internet so slow? Yeah. What are you talking about, Hank? An American-made Ford F-150 is made in the United States of America. Touched by American hands. No goddamn common Chinese touches these beautiful truck nuts that I put on the back of my Ford F.